So now you've got your budget, you've got your fence design, and you've got your layout. What is your next step?
Your next step is really deciding on who is going to dig the posts. It is the biggest job out there and the most difficult. So are you going to rent an auger and tackle this job yourself, or are you going to contract that job out to someone?
Most people, from what I understand, even people who are looking to build the fence themselves, will still hire somebody to come and set their posts.
I strongly recommend it. It is not the job for the average person. It is very, very strenuous. And if you can have someone come in and dig your posts during the week, Saturday morning, you are ready to start building your fence.
But for those extreme DIYers who are going to set their own posts, what is involved there? What's their first step?
Their first step for setting your own posts is actually, once you've got your property line, you will actually stake out the location of each of your posts. You're breaking it down in 8-foot sections. You will stake out the locations. You will go out to your local rental agency and go rent an auger, a hydraulic auger or a 2-man auger. Come in and start digging 4-foot deep poles or holes into the ground.
Is 4 foot like a universal rule, or does that vary by municipality?
4 foot is pretty much universal. You're trying to get down below the frost line. So in southern Ontario, we're talking about a 3 foot, 3.5 foot frost line. So you're trying to get the base of your pole down below the frost line to stop it from heaving.
So for somebody who's measuring out their poles with just a stake in the ground, they want to measure, I'm guessing, a little longer than 8 feet between them to account for the thickness of the post, or?
I always go 8 foot, center to post, center to post.
Okay.
You have no idea if you're going to hit a rock, hit something when you're going down, and you will have to shift that post. So always give yourself a little bit of wiggle room, as it were. You can always shorten it, but to start having 10 and 12 foot sections of fence makes your fence look unbalanced. So you're going to try to keep it as balanced as possible.
So after you've dug your hole, the next thing, I guess, is to fill the hole with cement, or to set your posts.
Set your posts, yes.
And some people use sauna tubes, and some people don't use sauna tubes. This is a sauna tube. The one I have here is kind of a large one. This is all we had sitting around the warehouse. This is a 12-inch. So this would be obviously overkill for a 4x4 post.
Yes, it would.
But maybe this is a good visual for the people. What is the significance of this sauna tube? Why would you use this to set your posts?
You would use this to set your posts if you were digging a hole and hit an obstruction, hit a rock, hit something which caused the actual hole to flare out. So a sauna tube is used to contain concrete, so when frost goes into the ground in the winter and the frost moves the ground, it has nothing to grab. So if you had a protrusion of your concrete, it would lift the post.
Oh, I see.
Okay. So as long as your hole is relatively clean on sides, it will never be perfectly smooth, but as long as it's relatively clean, sauna tubes are not required. Okay. Just those weird and wonderful times where it happens, you'll need one.
Do you save on cement by using a sauna tube?
No.
Not significantly, no?
No, the sauna tube is designed, you purchase a tube to fit tightly inside the hole. You do not want any gaps on the side, because as you try to backfill that, you will never tamp it down tight enough, and this will have a tendency to tip. Okay.
So I'm guessing the next most important thing to consider is the levelness of your post.
Yes.
And is that as easy as just holding the post with a level until it starts to hold itself, or is there a technique there?
It sounds that easy, but it isn't. You have to do a couple of different things with your posts to ensure that, one, they stay perfectly in line. It's the most visual thing you'll see. So once all of your holes are dug and you're starting the process of setting your posts, I like to start on the first pole, okay, and the last pole. Again, put your poles in position, level them, fill them up with concrete, leaving the concrete just shy of the grade, okay? We'll touch on that later. And then what I do is I take a line, just a good old-fashioned string, and tie it from one pole to the other pole. So I know that every single pole will be exactly in the same line. That's going to save me a lot of time. So I can set the post in position, the bottom's lined up, it's not going to move anywhere. Then I can begin adding concrete and leveling the post at the same time. To try to move everything, and it's very difficult, especially with a 6x6 post. These are heavy. You want to be able to hold them in place, fill with concrete, and then brace the post. The biggest issue is some people will mix the concrete too wet. The concrete will not hold the post, it will tip. Okay? The other piece of the puzzle, the piece that you must look at, is every piece of wood has a crown or a bend to it. I like to make sure that the bend is inside of the fence, in the direction of the fence. If you don't do that, you will see your posts turn to either side, and when you look at your fence, it will not look straight. Okay, so I'd make sure that the crown goes in with the direction of the fence you're building. Set all of your posts, brace everything, and that's it for the day.
While we're talking about posts, just a couple more questions. The typical sizes of posts you can get for a fence, I believe, are 4x4, 5x5, and 6x6, correct?
Yes, yes they are.
What is the significant difference? Why would somebody want to use a 6x6 over a 4x4?
Obviously, a 6x6 is stronger. I personally like the 6x6 because it gives me a strength, it gives me a look of stability. Okay? It will last a little bit longer. The weakest spot is always the post and always has been the post. So if we go to a 6x6, I know it's going to last longer. Okay? And it's just becoming preference. 10 years ago, you would not consider using a 6x6. Now it is pretty much par for the course.
You mentioned earlier when you're considering budget, that is also a factor you might want to go to 6x6s, because if you went with 6x6s, you might also want to go with like 2x6 rails.
Exactly, exactly. You go from your 4x4 with 2x4s to your 6x6 with 2x6s.
So it'll add cost all the way down.
It adds cost. It increases the linear footage price of your fence. That's why you have to figure out where you're going prior, so we can give you a proper budget number.
So you mentioned to fill the concrete to a certain level. What's the level that you're trying to achieve?
I like to go about 6 to 8 inches below the final grade to fill the top of that with soil afterwards, because again, as the frost starts setting in, the top 6 inches of the ground will freeze first. It almost creates a steel plate on top of the post, which assists in stopping any potential heaving. It also lets you plant grass and have a good base so you don't have the ugly brown spots around your posts.
We hope you found this video helpful. If you did, check out more videos in our Everything You Need to Know to Build a Fence series by checking out links in the description below or by clicking the thumbnail on your screen now.